Today's quiz involves a projectile launcher. It's made using a piece of PVC. I have a piece of dowel rod that has a bolt at the end. You can use rubber bands to propel the projectile by putting it from a screw up here down to the bolt. If I load it, I can put a trigger through the PVC into the plunger. I could then take the projectile and slide it down into where it hits the dowel. It is ready to be fired. Our question today, though, is if I took the projectile out of the projectile launcher and then pulled the trigger, what will happen? Now, there's one caveat to this. I have put ball-bearing wheels on the apparatus, so it moves readily with very little resistance. So here's what your quiz looks like today. As always, mark out your answer and list your level of confidence. Typical student responses include three. First of all, they see the rubber bands, and when I pull the trigger, the rubber bands are going to pull the bolt forward, causing the entire apparatus to move forward. The second most likely scenario in the student's mind is, well, I have been hunting before, and I know when I pull a trigger on a rifle or a shotgun or something like that, it wants to kick back. Others will say, yeah, but there's no projectile here, so nothing's going to happen. So those are the three most typical responses. To help explain what's going on here, let's use a more classic case where we have the projectile loaded into the apparatus. According to the conservation of momentum, which as far as we know has never been violated, if we start off with zero momentum, we should end up with zero momentum. So if the projectile is going forward, well, the apparatus should end up going in the opposite direction. Let's try this out. It might be a little bit loud. And you can see the apparatus goes backwards. Let's now load this without a projectile. In this case, when I pull this up on the trigger, it's going to allow the rubber band to come forward. So you might think we're going to end up going forward. But remember, in order to load this, I literally had to separate these two. One going in a positive direction, one going in a negative direction. When I pull the trigger, I have zero total momentum before. Yes, it's true, the plunger is going to come forward, but it's also going to be pulling with an equal and opposite force through these rubber bands, pulling the apparatus back. So in other words, they cancel each other, and we would expect to see no effect at all. And that's your quiz for today.